Okay, so it has been a while since I've been wanting to create this podcast, and human brain comes in the way and puts up all the barriers and all the what ifs and all the doubts and the fears and all that kind of stuff. And I know other people experience this too. And I'm just going to be super real and honest about why it's been a process for me to actually step foot into doing this, because of inspiration from one of my favorite books that I've ever read. And that is Hope I Screw This Up by Kyle Cease. And he just pulls you in with that real truth that happens when we have our nerves kick in and we fear being vulnerable with the world. And the book Love Without a Label, which was released in April, is an extremely vulnerable read. So I'm not new to vulnerability, let's say, but there is something very different about speaking and using my words vocally to express things and share my truth, opposed to the written word, which is, as a writer, something that I am a lot more called to and have a natural pull for. So ultimately, this podcast is going to be a lot about spiritual connections and tapping into childhood wounds and cracking generational traumas and healing from those the way that I was guided to this. So to start off, I'm going to share a little bit of my story right now, and as we go along, I will give more details. But ultimately, Love Without a Label is a book that is written because I was stripped of my right to feel and grieve as deeply as I did, losing somebody who for a really long time I called the love of my life. So Arlen is his name, and he died in a car accident when he was 20, and it crushed me. And I felt silenced in my grief because nobody knew about our relationship and nobody knew about the connection that we had. It was a labelless connection, so this was before any title happened. And with that alone, I felt like I wasn't valid in feeling as deeply as I felt, and I suppressed the shit out of any potential pain that I was feeling. I ran to different addictions, constantly trying to numb it all, until all of a sudden his spirit decided to show up 6 years later and crack me open in a way that I couldn't possibly imagine. So it's been 10 years since I was cracked open, did a lot of healing work in that time, met a lot of other people who have also felt invalid in their pain and struggles with grief and were silenced. Ultimately, there's a massive competition and comparison that we have in our world around grief, where we put, stipulations on it, and we tell people, you didn't have a label, so you're not valid in it, or they weren't blood related, so you're not valid in it, or you didn't know them long enough, or just all of these things can show up in different ways. And I've heard so many different variations of this, even brothers and sisters who didn't feel valid in their pain grieving their sibling because they weren't married to them, like their wife and their husbands had more validity in it. So there is so much competition and comparison that happens with grief, and I want that to stop. So I want to make this a bigger conversation. I would love to have others who feel this way reach out, share your story with me. Let's talk about this. I'd love to have you on the podcast so others can feel seen in this and know that they're not alone. We need to stop this ultimately, and we need everybody to feel their feelings and understand that they are valid in the experiences that they have. So, and spiritually, there's a lot that comes in. So grief is intense and it's hard. And I know a lot of people who also don't feel valid of the spirit world connections that come through. And that happened to me as well. So I pushed them away. And as things started to increase for me and I started getting more messages and more downloads and visions coming in and things like that, I didn't feel valid of even the spirit world connecting with me, that I pushed them away. And so the reason this is a massive topic to bring up is because I want people to honor that, because there is gifts in that. There is a lot of not only healing for yourself, but healing for the collective There's messages that you will get individually from the spirits that I will not get, that somebody else will not get. And we need the messages that they are coming to you specifically for to reach everybody else. So this is a super important topic, and I want people to stop discrediting themselves when they have miraculous experiences that come through, whether that be, you know, a sensation, your clairvoyance, your hearing, your knowing, all of the clairs. So ultimately, I just want this to be a beginning little intro to open up this conversation in a different and deeper way. And we will dive in more and more as I get more comfortable, because I'm still nervous doing this. Like I said, I've always connected as a writer more than the spoken word, which is wild because I've done public presentations before, but I feel like those are different because I can have it all specifically written down and read from it and yada, 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 yada. And so there's all those things. So I'm going to be super freaking real and raw as this is coming to fruition. And I know that I'm going to get more and more come through from up above and from myself to share with you guys that this is going to benefit a lot of us. So come along the journey. Let's start these bigger conversations, and please comment and reach out and let me know if you've experienced feeling invalid in your pain and grief. If you've had situations of love without a label, even if that person didn't die, but people discredited your love for them because there wasn't a label. If you've, you know, bonded really strongly with a friend and then that friendship ended and you were heartbroken by it. Any of these kinds of concepts of love without a label, I would love to have more of a conversation around it, and I would love to hear your stories. So please reach out and let's chat more about this. And I'm going to apologize for as rough as this is going to be, but this is where I want the creative energy that is going to come through to be honored. And I want people to see how nerve-wracking it is when you're first starting something off, and we don't always need to be super professional right off the hop. And we can just show our real humanness as we take new projects on and see where that grows within ourselves and within the people that are following the work that we're doing. So I love you guys all so much, and I'm so excited to see where this entire conversation goes.